Welcome to FactFlow, where curiosity becomes a journey across the extraordinary planet we call home. In today's episode, we uncover 50 geography facts so astonishing, so unbelievable, that they transform the way you see Earth forever. From rivers hot enough to cook living creatures, to entire continents hiding beneath the ocean, and storms that light up the sky every single minute, our planet is filled with mysteries waiting to be explored. Geography isn't just maps and borders. It's the story of volcanoes breathing beneath our feet, cities built between two continents, deserts that were once oceans, and islands so strange they defy logic. So sit back, stay curious, and get ready, because what you're about to discover will challenge what you think you know about Earth, and reveal the breathtaking secrets that shape our world. For as long as humans have explored the world, we've carried with us stories, myths passed down through generations. Some were warnings, some were attempts to explain the unknown, and some were simply misunderstandings repeated so often that they eventually felt like facts. But in the realm of geography, believing the wrong thing can lead to confusion, bad decisions, or even dangerous assumptions about how our planet works. In this chapter, we uncover some of the most widespread geographic myths that millions still believe today, truths hidden behind misconceptions that have survived for centuries. One of the most common myths is the idea that Mount Everest is the tallest mountain on Earth. While Everest is the highest peak above sea level, the title of tallest actually belongs to Mauna Kea in Hawaii. Rising from its underwater base to its summit, Mauna Kea measures more than Everest by several thousand feet. Yet because most of its mass lies beneath the Pacific Ocean, millions never realize they're standing on the real giant of the planet. Another widely believed myth is that the Amazon River is the longest river in the world. For decades, textbooks declared it the champion. But developments in satellite mapping revealed that the Nile still holds the crown when measured from its most distant source. Despite this, many people continue spreading the opposite claim, unaware of the complex debates among geographers trying to settle the rivalry. Then there's the myth that the Great Wall of China is visible from space with the naked eye. It's a romantic idea. One long structure stretching across the landscape, so massive that astronauts can spot it from orbit. But astronauts consistently confirm it's nearly impossible to see without magnification. Its narrow width and earthy color blend into the surrounding terrain, making it no more visible than many highways or canals. Another misconception that refuses to die is the belief that continents never move. People tend to imagine Earth's land masses as fixed and permanent, but our planet's crust sits atop shifting tectonic plates that constantly rearrange the surface. Africa is slowly colliding with Europe. Australia drifts northward every year. The Atlantic Ocean widens as North America moves away from Europe. The map of Earth 100 million years from now will look nothing like the one we know today. Millions also believe that deserts are always hot, picturing endless dunes baked under scorching sunlight. But deserts are defined not by temperature, but by dryness. That's why Antarctica, covered in ice, blasted with freezing winds, is technically the largest desert on Earth. Its lack of precipitation places it in the same category as the Sahara, even though their climates couldn't be more different. Another surprisingly persistent myth is that the North Star is the brightest star in the sky. Polaris is famous for its position above the northern hemisphere, making it a reliable navigation tool for centuries. But it is far from the brightest. That honor belongs to Sirius, which shines several times more brilliantly. Despite this, the cultural weight of Polaris keeps the myth alive. A more modern misconception is the belief that sea level is the same everywhere. People imagine one global waterline wrapping uniformly around the planet. In reality, sea level varies significantly due to gravity differences, ocean currents and temperatures. Some coastlines sit dozens of feet higher or lower than others, even before accounting for tides. Even the idea that Earth's seasons are caused by its distance from the sun is incorrect. People often assume we experience warmth when Earth is closer and cold when it's farther away. But the real reason lies in Earth's axial tilt. When your hemisphere tilts toward the sun, sunlight hits more directly, creating warmth. When it tilts away, light spreads out and weakens, causing winter. Distance barely plays a role at all. And perhaps one of the most surprising misconceptions is the belief that gravity is the same everywhere on Earth. In reality, gravity shifts based on the density of rocks beneath your feet. Canada's Hudson Bay, for example, has noticeably weaker gravity due to ancient glacial scars. People standing there literally weigh slightly less than they would in other regions. It's not enough to notice without instruments, but it's a powerful reminder that Earth is full of hidden forces we rarely think about. This chapter reminds us of something essential. The world is far more complex and more mysterious than many assume. Myths survive because they're simple, memorable, and convenient. But the truth? The truth reveals a planet filled with motion, surprise, and incredible variety. And as we break these misconceptions one by one, we begin to see Earth not as a static picture, but as a living, changing masterpiece. Earth is breathtaking, magnificent, and endlessly inspiring, but it is also unpredictable. When nature decides to shift, twist, or unleash its hidden power, entire landscapes transform within moments. In this chapter, we enter the world of extreme environments and natural disasters, exploring how geography shapes the forces that challenge human survival. From roaring hurricanes to silent deserts, from frozen wastelands to trembling ground beneath our feet, this is the raw, unfiltered power of the planet. Nature's most dramatic displays often begin with tectonic movement, where the ground that feels solid beneath us suddenly reveals its true identity. Floating plates drifting on molten rock. When these plates grind or collide, earthquakes erupt with violent force. Cities can crumble in seconds, mountains can rise or fall. But what makes earthquakes especially dangerous is their invisibility. No warning, no sound, just sudden motion. The ground liquefies, buildings sway like branches, and roads tear apart. Geography teaches us that these quakes follow fault lines, yet many regions built over them remain unaware of the ticking geological clock beneath their communities. But the aftermath can be just as deadly. Subduction zones, where one plate slides beneath another, are also responsible for the most destructive tsunamis on Earth. A rise in the ocean floor sends waves racing outward at speeds comparable to a jet aircraft. Out at sea, these waves are almost invisible, but when they reach shallow waters, they rise into towering walls capable of sweeping away entire towns. Unlike storms, tsunamis don't roar until the final devastating moment. And then there's volcanic rage, where Earth vents its pressure in explosions of fire, ash, and molten rock. Some eruptions are slow and steady, giving humans plenty of time to evacuate. Others strike with explosive force, sending ash clouds miles into the sky and covering cities in total darkness. Supervolcanoes, although rare, hold the power to influence global weather for years. They remind us that beneath our feet lies a world in constant motion, one that can reshape continents and rewrite history. If disasters born from tectonics are sudden and dramatic, others are slow, silent, and deceptive. Deserts, for example, appear lifeless and peaceful, but they are some of the harshest places on Earth. With little water and extreme temperature shifts, they can challenge even experienced explorers. During the day, scorching heat can overpower the body. At night, freezing winds steal warmth in minutes. Sandstorms can rise without warning, transforming the sky into a swirling wall of dust that blinds and disorients anyone caught within. Yet deserts also reveal how geography can shift dramatically over millennia. After all, the Sahara was once a thriving grassland full of lakes and wildlife. On the opposite end of the spectrum lie the polar regions, places where cold becomes a force of nature. Antarctica's relentless winds and temperatures far below freezing create conditions uninhabitable for most life on Earth. In the Arctic, sea ice constantly shifts and breaks, making navigation treacherous. But what many don't realize is that these icy landscapes play a critical role in regulating global temperatures. When they melt, sea levels rise, and the world's climate patterns shift in unpredictable ways. Storms, too, carry the fingerprints of geography. Hurricanes, for instance, are born from warm ocean waters combined with rotating wind systems. As they strengthen, they evolve into swirling giants capable of destroying entire coastlines. Their power depends heavily on geography. Warm seas fuel them, land weakens them, and mountains can tear them apart. Similarly, tornadoes emerge from specific atmospheric conditions shaped by flat terrain, temperature contrasts, and wind shear, conditions that make certain regions, such as the central United States, tornado hotspots. But extreme environments aren't always defined by sudden violence. Sometimes the threat is constant and unforgiving. Deep jungles, for example, challenge survival with overwhelming humidity, dense terrain, and wildlife adapted to harsh competition. Then there are environments like high-altitude regions, where thin air makes every breath feel like a challenge and temperatures drop sharply with elevation. What ties all these environments together is one universal truth. Nature is neither friend nor enemy. It simply exists, vast, powerful, and unpredictable. Those who understand it gain the ability to predict, prepare, and survive. Those who ignore it may one day face its full wrath, unprepared. This chapter serves as a reminder that Earth's beauty and danger are one and the same. The more we learn about how geography influences natural forces, the better we can stand against the most extreme challenges our planet presents. Because when nature shifts, the rules change instantly, and understanding those rules can be the difference between survival and disaster. Civilizations do not rise randomly. They grow, expand, collapse, and evolve according to the silent architecture hidden beneath their feet, the mountains that guard them, the rivers that feed them, the deserts that isolate them, and the coastlines that connect them to the world. Geography is not just the background of history, it is the engine that drives it. Imagine the earliest humans searching for places to build their first great settlements. They didn't choose randomly. They followed water, rivers that offered life, travel, and fertile lands. The Nile, the Tigris, the Euphrates, the Indus, and the Yellow River. Each of these waterways became the birthplace of civilizations that shaped humanity. Without these rivers, many of humanity's greatest empires would never have existed. Flood patterns, soil deposits, and seasonal changes determined not just how people lived, but how they farmed, traded, and structured their societies. Mountains have also played a dramatic role. They stand as natural fortresses, shaping borders and protecting cultures from invasion. The towering Himalayas isolated the Indian subcontinent for millennia, allowing unique religions, languages, and traditions to flourish. The Andes Mountains created vertical civilizations in South America, where altitude determined agriculture, architecture, and even how people breathed. Geography dictated survival, and innovation followed. But mountains are not only barriers, they are also sources of raw power. They influence weather, create rain shadows, and carve valleys that shelter life. They divide regions into distinct cultural zones. A village on one side of a mountain may speak a completely different language from one just a few kilometers away on the opposite slope. Geography quietly shapes identity. Coastlines, on the other hand, have given rise to some of the world's most influential cultures. Access to the sea made ancient Greece a network of maritime city-states rather than a single empire. The oceans became highways for ideas, goods, and people. Civilizations like the Phoenicians mastered the sea and spread their influence far beyond their homeland. Later, naval power defined the age of exploration, allowing countries like Portugal, Spain, and Britain to reshape global history. Even the shape of continents has influenced storytelling and belief. For centuries, the mysterious lands beyond mountains or deserts became the basis for legends of lost kingdoms and hidden treasures. Human imagination grew from the gaps that geography created. Deserts, vast, silent oceans of sand, have also defined human movement. The Sahara acts as a monumental wall separating North Africa from sub-Saharan cultures. Trade routes like the trans-Saharan caravan routes existed only because of geography's harsh demands. The Arabian Desert influenced the rise of Bedouin culture, and its extreme climate shaped traditions centered around survival, mobility, and community bonds. Rivers and coasts allowed empires to grow. Deserts and mountains limited how far they could reach. Climate dictated what they could farm. Terrain determined how they fought. Geography was the hidden strategist behind every victory and every collapse. Volcano-rich regions like Japan, Indonesia, and Italy developed unique architectural styles and agricultural systems to adapt to fertile but dangerous land. Islands formed cultures with strong identities shaped by isolation, cultures like those in Japan, Iceland, and the Philippines. Meanwhile, wide-open plains such as the Eurasian steppe gave rise to nomadic empires whose mobility changed the course of history. The Mongol Empire, for example, became the largest land empire ever recorded, partly because its geography favored swift horseback travel and massive migrations. Even in modern times, geography continues to influence society. Countries with navigable rivers have stronger economies due to easier shipping. Nations with difficult terrain experience slower infrastructure development. Access to natural resources still determines geopolitical power. The hidden architecture of Earth is a silent force, one that has sculpted human culture, language, economy, and destiny for thousands of years. Every border, every kingdom, every migration tells the story of landscapes shaping lives. Understanding these hidden forces helps us see the world not as a random collection of nations, but as a vast puzzle designed by nature and assembled by humanity. The world may seem neatly organized on a map, but look a little closer, and you'll discover that Earth is full of strange, confusing, and downright unbelievable geographic oddities. Borders that zigzag through homes, countries shaped like dragons, cities split in half by invisible lines, political puzzles that defy logic. Geography is not just science. It is a global treasure hunt filled with mysteries hiding in plain sight. Imagine standing in a small European cafe, taking one step to your left and suddenly finding yourself in an entirely different country. That's the reality in Bâle, a town divided between Belgium and the Netherlands in one of the most chaotic border arrangements ever created. The town is carved into dozens of tiny enclaves, Belgian plots inside Dutch plots, Dutch territories inside Belgian ones, some so small they barely fit a single house. Front doors determine your nationality. Your living room could be in the Netherlands, while your kitchen is in Belgium. It's a real-life geographic puzzle. And this is only the beginning. Take a look at the Four Corners Monument in the United States, one of the only places on Earth where 4 different regions meet at a single point. Stand in one spot, stretch out your arms and legs, and you can literally touch 4 American states at the same time. But what makes it even stranger is how perfectly artificial the lines are. straight borders cutting across deserts and mountains with no natural logic at all. Borders often emerge not from nature, but from history's most bizarre decisions. For example, look at the border between Egypt and Sudan known as Bir Tawil. Due to an old British mapping error, this small region is claimed by neither country. It is one of the only places on Earth that is truly unclaimed, an empty land where no government has jurisdiction. Some people online have even tried to found their own kingdom there, though of course none are recognized. Then there's the curious case of Kaliningrad, a tiny Russian territory sandwiched between Poland and Lithuania, completely separated from the rest of Russia. It's a geopolitical island on land, a fragment of a former empire stranded after shifting borders of war. Natural geography creates oddities too. Italy's shape famously resembles a boot kicking a ball, while Cyprus looks like a pointing hand. Argentina stretches so far from north to south that it passes through multiple climate zones, from tropical jungles to icy glaciers. Chile is so long and thin that if you turned it sideways it would stretch almost the entire width of the United States. Some shapes affect politics more profoundly. Take Gambia, a country carved along the path of the Gambia River, leaving it almost completely surrounded by Senegal. Or look at the panhandle of Oklahoma, created by a bizarre series of historical compromises that left a long, narrow strip sticking out like a handle on a pan. One of the most fascinating geographic riddles lies deep in the Himalayas, at a place called the Zigzag Border. Here, the borders between China, India, and Bhutan twist and turn like a snake, reflecting centuries of negotiations, conflicts, and cultural boundaries. A single misplaced mountain could shift entire political landscapes. Meanwhile, cities like Istanbul defy typical borders altogether. They straddle continents, making them cultural hybrids where East meets West, literally. Walk across a bridge, and you transition from Asia to Europe in seconds. Even our oceans hold mysteries. There are triangular maritime boundaries that form perfect geometric shapes, underwater borders shaped by ancient continental shifts, and islands that nations fight over despite being no larger than a football field. Perhaps the strangest oddity of all is Antarctica. It is the only continent with no true political borders. Countries claim slices of it like pieces of a giant icy pie, but international treaties prevent actual ownership. It is a place where geography and politics reach a truce, a vast land that belongs to everyone and no one at the same time. These oddities remind us of one powerful truth. Geography is not just something we study. It is a story humans create. Our borders reveal our conflicts, our mistakes, our creativity, and sometimes our sheer randomness. From enclaves to invisible lines, from misplaced territories to bizarre shapes, the world is full of geographic mysteries waiting to be uncovered, proof that even in the age of satellites and GPS, our planet still surprises us. Earth is a planet of extremes, extremes so intense that they reshape our understanding of what life can endure. Scorching heat, bone-cracking cold, crushing pressure, violent winds and landscapes that look like they belong to another world. Yet somehow, life survives, and in some cases, thrives. Imagine standing in the Danakil Depression of Ethiopia, one of the hottest inhabited places on the planet. Temperatures regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius, 122 degrees Fahrenheit, and the ground beneath your feet bubbles with neon yellow sulfur pools and acidic springs. This place is so hostile that scientists once used it as a model for what life might look like on other planets. And yet, microorganisms, tiny extremophiles, live here, proving that Earth still defies expectations. Travel thousands of kilometers north, and you'll find the exact opposite. In Antarctica's eastern plateau, temperatures can drop to 93 degrees, 136 degrees, the coldest natural temperature ever recorded on Earth. It is a white desert of razor-sharp ice ridges, roaring katabatic winds, and endless darkness during winter. No permanent human settlements exist here because nothing about this environment welcomes human life. Only the hardiest creatures, penguins, seals, microscopic algae, manage to survive. But Earth's extremes aren't only about heat and cold. Look upward into the skies of Tornado Alley in the United States, where some of the strongest tornadoes in the world carve paths of destruction across open plains. Each year, hundreds of rotating supercells unleash winds that can exceed 480 km/h. These storms are so powerful they can lift cars, tear houses from their foundations, and twist metal like paper. The geography of the plains makes this region a perfect breeding ground for atmospheric chaos, and from violent storms we move to deadly stillness. The Atacama Desert in Chile is one of the driest places on the planet. Some regions have not seen measurable rainfall for more than 400 years. NASA tests its Mars rovers here because parts of the Atacama are almost identical to Martian soil. Yet even in this barren land, tiny life forms cling to existence in salt flats and underground rocks, challenging our assumptions about what uninhabitable truly means. If you want extremes of elevation, Earth has those too. Mount Everest towers above the Himalayas, scraping the sky at 8,848 meters. At its peak, the atmosphere is so thin that every breath feels like a struggle for survival. Temperatures can plummet suddenly, storms can form out of nowhere, and the human body slowly shuts down in what climbers call the death zone. Despite the dangers, Everest continues to draw thousands of climbers every year, proof of humanity's relentless push against limits. But the deepest point on Earth lies far below Everest, in a place few humans have ever seen. The Mariana Trench plunges nearly 11 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean. The pressure at the bottom is so crushing it could squish a human like a soda can. The darkness is absolute, and the cold is numbing. Yet life exists even here, ghostly fish, transparent creatures, and organisms that glow like stars in the eternal night. Extreme landscapes can also be strangely beautiful. Consider the Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia, the world's largest salt flat. After rainfall, a thin layer of water transforms it into a perfect mirror stretching to the horizon. It is so flat and reflective that scientists use it to calibrate satellites. In contrast, Death Valley in California holds the record for the highest temperature ever reliably recorded, 56.27 degrees Celsius. Its landscape is so hot and dry that rocks seem to move on their own, creating mysterious trails across the desert floor. These sailing stones baffled scientists for decades until they discovered that thin ice sheets and wind helped them glide across the surface. Then there is the Amazon rainforest, an extreme environment in its own way. Its humidity, biodiversity, and isolation create a world where millions of species, many still undiscovered, struggle for survival in a constant battle of adaptation. The Sahara Desert, with its towering dunes and endless expanse, remains an iconic symbol of heat and desolation. But hidden beneath the sand lies evidence that the Sahara was once a lush green landscape filled with rivers, lakes, and human settlements, proof that even Earth's extremes are temporary chapters in a long geological story. Across these extremes, hot, cold, wet, dry, high, deep, life keeps finding ways to adapt. The planet pushes the limits, and life pushes back. Earth is not simply a home. It is a proving ground, a laboratory of resilience, and a reminder that this world is more powerful and mysterious than we can ever fully comprehend. Some chapters of Earth's history are written in stone, carved into mountains, buried beneath deserts, or swallowed by the sea. But others, far more mysterious, remain hidden in silence. These are the stories of civilizations that vanished without explanation, technologies that appeared centuries ahead of their time, and questions that challenge our understanding of human origins. Imagine walking across the desert sands of Peru. Beneath your feet lies one of the world's greatest enigmas, the Nazca Lines. Giant shapes, spiders, hummingbirds, geometric spirals stretch across a dry plateau so vast they can only be fully seen from the air. Yet they were created long before humans had flight. Why were they made? Who were they meant for? Rituals? Messages to the gods? Or something else entirely? Despite decades of research, the true purpose of the Nazca Lines remains one of archaeology's most haunting puzzles. Travel across the globe to the Mediterranean, and the sea hides its own secrets. Off the coast of Greece lies the Antikythera mechanism, a bronze device discovered in a shipwreck. At first glance, it looks like corroded metal gears fused by time, but scientists later uncovered the truth. It is an ancient analog computer capable of predicting eclipses and astronomical positions with stunning accuracy. A machine so advanced, it seemed out of place by almost 2,000 years. Who built it? How did ancient engineers achieve such precision? No one knows for sure, and no similar device has ever been found. Then there is Göbekli Tepe, a 12,000-year-old temple in Turkey that rewrites everything we thought we knew about civilization. Massive stone pillars arranged in circles and carved with intricate animals, built before agriculture, before cities, before writing. It suggests that organized religion may have come first, inspiring humans to settle down, not the other way around. Why would ancient hunter-gatherers dedicate such effort to building monumental structures? What knowledge did they possess that we still do not understand? And beneath the jungles of Guatemala, the Maya civilization left behind traces of a brilliant culture, pyramids, astronomical observatories, and an advanced writing system. Yet around the 9th century, their great cities were abandoned. Archaeologists have proposed drought, warfare, and political collapse, but none fully explain why an entire civilization walked away from its monumental achievements. The truth remains scattered among vines and ruins. Across the ocean on Easter Island, the giant stone statues known as Moai watch silently over the land. They are enormous, weighing up to 80 tons each, yet the island's early inhabitants carved, transported, and erected them without wheels, metal tools, or large animals. How did they move these colossal figures across uneven terrain? And why did their civilization nearly vanish afterward? Even today, the logistics behind these statues remain only partially understood. Some mysteries, however, lie deep beneath the waves. The Yonaguni monument off the coast of Japan looks remarkably like a submerged city. Terraces, straight edges, and massive steps carved into the seabed. Some believe it is a natural formation. Others argue it is the remains of an ancient civilization lost to rising seas. The debate continues, and the ocean keeps its secrets. Further south, in the sands of Egypt, the pyramids still raise questions. While their purpose as tombs is clear, the precision of their construction, perfect alignments with celestial bodies, mathematical ratios, and engineering techniques, continues to astonish researchers. How did ancient builders achieve such accuracy with the limited tools of their time? What knowledge have we lost? And then there are the civilizations that disappeared entirely, their stories erased except for fragments. The Indus Valley civilization, with advanced plumbing but no deciphered writing. The Anasazi, who built cliff cities and then abandoned them. The Nabta Playa astronomers in the Sahara, who created a stone calendar older than Stonehenge. Their silence is their greatest mystery. What connects all these stories is one truth. Human history is not a straight line. It is a mosaic of breakthroughs, collapses, forgotten wisdom, and unexpected achievements. For every chapter we understand, there are 10 still hidden, waiting for someone to uncover them. Earth remembers everything, but it does not reveal its secrets easily. Nature is beautiful, powerful, and unforgiving. For thousands of years, humans have survived on this planet not because we were the strongest or the fastest, but because we learned to read the signs, subtle clues hidden in wind, water, soil, and sky. In this chapter, we explore the secret rules of survival, the ones ancient people mastered instinctively, and that modern science now proves to be astonishingly accurate. Imagine you are deep in a forest, miles away from any trail. Your phone has no signal, your map is useless, and the sun is about to set. What do? The first rule of survival is understanding orientation, the art of knowing where you are even when everything looks the same. Moss tends to grow thicker on the north-facing sides of trees in the northern hemisphere. Spider webs appear more often on the eastern sides of trees where the morning sun is gentle. And birds, especially swallows and finches, tend to fly lower when the air pressure drops, signaling an incoming storm. These tiny signs could save your life, but nature's hidden rules go far beyond forests. In deserts, survival depends on understanding heat, shadows, and the movement of sand. Dunes often align with the prevailing winds, creating patterns you can use as a natural compass. Termite mounds, surprisingly, can help too. They are often oriented east-west to regulate internal temperature. And if you ever find yourself in extreme heat, remember that the coldest desert air settles in low ground at night. Elevation becomes shelter. Next, water, the most critical element for human survival. In mountains, the sound of rushing streams does not always reveal the direction. Water can echo unpredictably in narrow valleys. Instead, look at plant life. Willows, cottonwoods, and alders thrive near underground moisture. Even the buzzing of insects tends to intensify near hidden water sources. In jungles, vines known as water lianas can be cut to provide drinkable liquid. The rule is simple. Where life is dense, water is close. Weather, too, has its own language. Before a storm, birds become silent, and the air feels heavier. Clouds stacking vertically signal lightning. A red sunset often indicates high pressure and calm weather ahead. Even the smell of the air changes. Ozone becomes sharper when a storm is approaching. Ancient navigators used the color of the sea to predict incoming monsoon patterns, trusting instincts developed over centuries of observation. In Arctic regions, survival takes an entirely different approach. Snow, for example, is not just frozen water, it is architecture. Igloos work because snow traps heat inside tiny air pockets, forming an insulated dome capable of staying warm even when outside temperatures drop below -60 degrees Celsius. Hunters track animals by reading the smallest details, the angle of a paw print in the snow, the warmth of breath frozen onto ice, or the subtle shift in wind direction carrying scent. Here, nature's rules demand patience, silence, and precision. Oceans hold their own codes as well. Before tsunamis strike, the sea often recedes dramatically, a sign many animals understand instinctively, but humans often ignore. Waves arranged in long, rhythmic patterns can signal the presence of underwater earthquakes thousands of kilometers away. Even the formation of clouds over the horizon can help predict cyclones. Polynesian navigators once sailed thousands of miles using only stars, wave patterns, and the behavior of birds returning home at dusk. But the most powerful rule of survival is understanding fear. Not escaping it, using it. Fear sharpens the senses, making us more aware of danger and opportunity. Ancient tribes used fear as a teacher. If birds suddenly take flight in the same direction, there may be a predator or landslide coming. If the forest goes silent, danger is near. Fear becomes intuition, and intuition becomes survival. Throughout human history, those who thrived were not the strongest, but the most observant. Every leaf, every cloud, every gust of wind is part of a vast natural language. The more we learn to read it, the safer and wiser we become. In the end, nature is not the enemy. It is the greatest instructor we have ever known. Its rules are ancient, universal, and often invisible. But for those who pay attention, these rules can guide you home, no matter where you are on Earth. Borders are strange things. They are invisible lines drawn across landscapes that were here long before humans existed, yet they determine nearly everything about our identities, our movement, and even our understanding of the world. Mountains, rivers, deserts, and oceans shaped ancient civilizations. But today, a simple line on a map can decide your language, your laws, and your future. In this chapter, we explore how these invisible boundaries came to be, how they shift, and how they continue to shape human destiny in ways both subtle and dramatic. Imagine standing in a desert where the sand stretches endlessly in every direction. There is no fence, no wall, no river, yet according to a map, you are crossing from one nation into another with a single step. This is the paradox of borders. The physical world stays the same, but the meaning changes instantly. A few centuries ago, most borders were undefined, fluid, and constantly shifting. Empires expanded and collapsed, tribes migrated, and natural features acted as boundaries by default. But as nations grew more structured, humans began tracing lines with astonishing precision, and sometimes astonishing absurdity. Consider the straight borders that cut across Africa and the Middle East, many drawn during colonial rule using nothing but rulers and maps. These lines often ignored ethnic groups, languages, and ancient trade routes, forcing populations together or splitting them apart. The consequences of these decisions still influence politics, culture, and conflict today. Borders can unite or divide, often both at the same time. Then there are borders shaped by nature. Rivers are among the most common natural boundaries, but rivers move. They carve new paths, split into branches, or dry up entirely. When the Rio Grande shifted in the 19th century, it created massive disputes between the United States and Mexico over land rights. Mountains, too, act as formidable natural borders, but even they change over time. The Himalayas rise a few millimeters every year as tectonic plates collide, subtly reshaping the boundaries between nations like China, India, and Nepal. Some borders are surprisingly playful. In the town of Baal, split between Belgium and the Netherlands, the boundary zigzags through streets, cafes, and even individual houses. One step can take you from one country to another, and some buildings have two addresses depending on which side of the floor you're standing on. Similarly, in the village of Derby Line, the United States-Canada border runs straight through a library. The reading room is in one country, the fiction section in another. These unusual situations make geography feel less like a rigid system and more like a fascinating puzzle. Water adds another layer of complexity. Maritime borders determine control over resources like fish, oil, and minerals. As countries gain new technology to explore deeper oceans, the pressure to expand territorial waters increases. Tiny islands, sometimes no more than specks of rock, become incredibly valuable because they extend a nation's reach across the sea. A small patch of land can shift the balance of power. Political borders also affect how humans see themselves. If you were born just a few kilometers in another direction, your passport, culture, education, and opportunities might be entirely different. Borders shape our realities, even if we never cross them. They determine which languages become widespread, which economies thrive, and which histories dominate school textbooks. The power of a line on a map extends far beyond geography. It influences identity. But despite their importance, borders are constantly changing. Rising sea levels threaten to redraw coastlines worldwide. Melting Arctic ice is opening new shipping routes and creating tension over who controls them. Cities are merging, rural areas are emptying, and digital communication is creating virtual communities that ignore physical boundaries altogether. The world is not becoming borderless, but the meaning of borders is evolving faster than at any point in human history. And then there is the emotional side of borders. For millions of people, borders represent hope, an opportunity for safety, freedom, or a new beginning. For others, they represent separation from family, heritage, or home. A border can be a gateway or a barrier, a protection or a prison. It carries stories of migration, conflict, dreams, and loss. In the end, borders are a reminder of how humans try to bring order to a world that is naturally wild and fluid. They are agreements, sometimes peaceful, sometimes contested, that shape the map of our lives. The Earth doesn't recognize these lines, but we do, and they influence everything from travel to politics to culture. Understanding them means understanding not just geography, but humanity itself. Numbers may seem simple on the surface, but when it comes to humanity, numbers tell some of the most powerful stories on Earth. Behind every statistic lies a civilization, a struggle, a history, and a pattern shaped by geography in ways most people never notice. In this chapter, we unlock the secrets hidden in population data, density maps, and global distribution to reveal how humans ended up living where they live, and what these patterns mean for our future. Imagine looking at a map of Earth at night. Some regions blaze with light: eastern China, northern India, the eastern coast of the United States, and Europe's sprawling metropolitan zones. Meanwhile, vast stretches remain almost completely dark: the Sahara Desert, the Amazon Basin, the Australian outback, and the frozen reaches of Siberia. That glowing contrast is more than just a view from space. It is a snapshot of human priorities, shaped by climate, resources, history, and chance. Start with Asia, home to more than half of all people on the planet. Despite covering less than 1/3 of Earth's land area, it holds the majority of humanity. Why? Because geography favored early agriculture. Fertile river valleys like the Ganges, the Yangtze, and the Mekong fed booming populations for thousands of years, allowing cultures, trade, and cities to flourish. Geography was the silent architect, shaping human settlement long before modern demographics existed. Look at Europe: dense cities, short distances between nations, and a history of interconnected societies. Its moderate climate and accessible waterways made travel, trade, and farming easier than in harsher regions. Contrast that with Africa, where deserts, jungles, and vast distances between major rivers created challenges for unifying early populations. Yet Africa holds the world's fastest-growing population today, a shift that will reshape global economics and culture in the coming century. Then, there is the remarkable case of small but densely populated regions. Think of Macau, Singapore, or Monaco, micro-territories packed with energy and economic power. These small areas hold more people per square kilometre than entire countries hold across millions of hectares. On the other end of the spectrum, Mongolia, Greenland, and Namibia spread tiny populations across enormous landscapes where natural barriers limit settlement. Urbanization adds another layer to the story. More than half of humanity now lives in cities, and that number continues rising. But cities don't grow randomly. They emerge where geography allows opportunity. Coastal areas attract ports, which attract trade, which attracts people. Mountain regions tend to remain sparsely populated because harsh terrain limits construction, agriculture, and access. Even today, with all our technology, geography still sets the rules for where people can thrive. Some regions, however, defy expectations. Consider deserts like those in the Middle East, where cities such as Dubai and Doha have exploded in size despite extreme heat and scarce fresh water. Technology, oil wealth, and global trade have reshaped environments once considered uninhabitable. These examples show that while geography shapes us, human innovation pushes back, sometimes dramatically. Population numbers also reveal hidden stories of crisis and change. Countries like Japan and South Korea face shrinking populations due to extremely low birth rates. Entire towns are emptying, schools are closing, and governments are searching for solutions. Meanwhile, nations across Africa experience rapid growth, fueling young workforces and dynamic cultural shifts, but challenging infrastructure and resources. Density maps highlight inequality as well. Coastal megacities like Lagos, Mumbai, and Manila face overcrowding, pollution, and rising sea levels. Rural regions, meanwhile, face the opposite problem: declining populations, abandoned farmland, and economies struggling to survive. Human distribution is not just about where we live, it is about what we leave behind. Even migration numbers tell powerful stories. Every year, millions move in search of safety, opportunity, or a better future. Some cross borders legally, others risk their lives to escape conflict or poverty. Migration reshapes cities, economies, and cultural landscapes. It fuels innovation, but also creates political tension. Again, numbers reveal the truth if we know how to read them. Perhaps the most fascinating part of human distribution is how incredibly uneven it is. If you were to take all 8 billion humans and spread them evenly across Earth's land surface, there would be only about 60 people per square kilometer. But in reality, more than half of all humans live on less than 10% of the land. Geography doesn't just influence where we live, it concentrates us, clusters us, and creates hotspots of culture and civilization. And yet, despite our differences in language, culture, and environment, one pattern connects us all. We settle where life is possible, where the climate is stable, where food can grow, where water is reachable, where trade can flourish. Geography writes the first draft of human history, and population maps reveal the final version. Numbers speak. They whisper stories of survival, migration, innovation, conflict, prosperity, and adaptation. And when we listen closely, we discover that humanity is not random. It is patterned, shaped by landscapes, and guided by the silent forces of Earth itself. Knowledge is more than just information. It is a survival tool, a lens, and a compass. Geography, perhaps more than any other field, proves that understanding the planet is the same as understanding ourselves. In this chapter, we explore how knowing Earth's patterns, forces, and mysteries empowers us, shaping the way we think, the way we move, and the way we thrive on a constantly changing world. From the moment humans first walked the Earth, geography guided every decision: where to settle, where to hunt, where to travel, where to build civilizations. Today, in a world connected by technology, we often forget that the landscape still dictates far more than we realize. Every city, every border, every storm, every migration, all of it emerges from Earth's geography. When we learn to read those patterns, we gain a kind of superpower, the ability to predict, adapt, and understand. Think about how knowledge of geography affects survival. In regions prone to earthquakes like Japan or Chile, understanding tectonic hazards shapes building standards, emergency plans, and even cultural attitudes toward resilience. In countries where hurricanes strike, like the Philippines or the southeastern United States, Knowing wind patterns and coastal vulnerabilities saves countless lives every year. Awareness transforms fear into preparation. Even everyday decisions depend on geography more than we notice. Flood maps affect home prices. Climate zones affect food availability. Trade routes shape economies. Language families follow ancient migration paths. Political tensions often arise from mountains, rivers, and deserts that define borders. Geography is the invisible thread tying everything together. But beyond survival and politics, geography expands our worldview. Knowing that Earth once had a single supercontinent called Pangaea changes how we think about nations and identities. Understanding that deserts can bloom after rare rainfall, or that glowing plankton light up beaches in the Maldives, or that underwater rivers flow beneath the sea. These insights fill the world with wonder, curiosity, and respect. It also teaches humility. When we learn that the Sahara Desert was once a lush green savanna, or that continents drift at the speed your fingernails grow, or that volcanoes create new land over thousands of years, we realize humanity is just a chapter in Earth's long story. Geography reminds us that we are temporary guests on a restless planet. Knowledge of geography is also a key to solving future challenges. Rising sea levels threaten low-lying nations. Mega droughts risk food shortages. Population growth strains resources in rapidly expanding cities. Climate change reshapes everything from migration patterns to economic stability. Only by understanding the geography behind these shifts can we create solutions that protect future generations. And yet, geography also inspires optimism. Renewable energy maps reveal ideal zones for solar, wind, and geothermal power. Agricultural innovations help green the deserts. Reforestation projects revive ecosystems once thought lost. Even ancient knowledge, like how Pacific Islanders navigated using stars, tides, and bird movements, teaches us that humans have always adapted through understanding the world around them. When we look at the globe, we see not just land and water, but stories written in mountains, valleys, rivers, forests, and oceans. Each contour holds the memory of millions of years. Each border holds centuries of human struggle and collaboration. Each city reflects the triumph of human beings working with, and sometimes against, their environment. And the more we learn, the more powerful we become. Not powerful in domination, but powerful in wisdom. Knowing why lightning strikes Venezuela's Lake Maracaibo thousands of times every night, or why Whittier, Alaska houses almost an entire town in a single building, or why some places glow blue at night while others remain dark, these insights deepen our connection to the planet. Geography transforms perspective. It turns the world from a map into a living story. It encourages exploration, critical thinking, and appreciation. It helps us see patterns where others see randomness. It helps us understand people, cultures, and events with compassion and clarity. It reminds us that the Earth is not just a place we live, it is a system we are part of. And that is the ultimate power of knowing, the power to see the world not as fragments, but as a whole. The power to understand where we came from, where we are, and where we are going. The power to navigate life with awareness, curiosity, and respect for the astonishing planet we call home. And that is the power of knowledge. The more you understand the world, the more the world opens its secrets to you. So if you're hungry for facts, passion, and mind-blowing discoveries, you're in the right place. This was Fact Flow, delivering the truth with clarity, curiosity, and a spark of wonder. If this video lit a fire in your mind, then don't just watch, join the journey. Hit subscribe, smash the like button, and turn on the bell so you never miss the next drop of pure knowledge. Because here, we don't just learn, we unlock the world. Stay curious, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next video.